Josefina, you're a legend. You're
Oh, thank
writing.
you.
You're
Thank you.
writing. I mean, there's no surprise for this one after the major success that Real Women Have Curves. And now this is like a new modern story.
It is. It's kind of in the universe, as they're calling it. It is definitely not a sequel, but it's almost like as long as society only values the way women look and not how we think, then I'm going to keep telling these stories. And there's just so many stories that I want to share because I want to tell women, don't wait to lose 20 pounds. Love yourself now. You are perfect the way you are. Because the other thing too is like it's gotten worse because of social media. Now there's all these filters, there's all this hate. And so we also wanted to tell this story in a way that makes it very present day with social media criticisms that we have in the movie. And it's just important, to remind women you are perfect as you are. You're the greatest creation God ever made.
No, this
Yeah,
is its own entity.
that's right. Yeah.
And then for you, how is it for you to play this character where a lot of us women can relate? Social media pressures, being single. I mean, I'm 44 and I still like, ¿cuándo vas a tener hijos? ¿Cuándo te
Oh
casas?
yeah.
Sí.
I mean, that's the beautiful part about Gotti is that I feel like, well, when I first read the script, I could not put it down. I read it like in one sitting, literally, and I was like, I have to play this character. I just fell in love with Gotti, and because she's so relatable, and I just was like, so many moments in there it spoke to me, where it's like, the mother, the pressure of like when you lose weight, they look at you and they're like, are you sick? What's going on? You need to eat, and they're trying to feed you. And then when it's like you gain weight, they're like, are you pregnant? Why do you look so fat? So I already had that in my mind where I'm like, oh my God, I am this character. And then just like really struggling with like self-acceptance. And I've been in the industry for a minute, and there's just so much pressure. That was even before social media, that kind of pressure to look a certain way if you want to be an actor. So it was something that I really could relate to, and I just found the arc so beautiful in Carrie in finding her self acceptance and self love, which I think is really important, and it's something that women don't really get to discuss a lot, or deal with.
You just talked about social media, which is a major pressure. I'm so glad I'm more on the older side and not growing up with it because nowadays it's hard. Should they cover a little bit about it? Like, is social media real?
Well, I mean, it really to a lot of women because that's where they live in social media. And it's so sad because for young women, it seems like that's all there is. Like you're nobody unless you get enough likes. And it is very real because it has ruined a lot of young women's lives, right? And it does make or break a career sometimes. You get canceled and then that's it for you. You get likes, you get millions of likes, you go viral, and it creates you and your persona. It can make you a millionaire. So it's very social media is real, as much as we don't want it to be.
Unfortunately. And one thing that I do want to talk about is the song. Josefina, that was your song? You created that song?
Oh,
Wrote
oh
that?
yes. Don't talk about your ex.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I was dating someone and he was always talking about his ex. And I was like, I just was like, don't talk about your ex. And and then I was thinking, I was thinking that's the best advice because if you talk about your ex, you're not gonna get sex. So and then I was like, oh wait a minute, I just need a beat to it. And then yeah, no, we did that song and yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I
It's so
love it.
catchy. And at Cannes, the audience actually started singing it at the end of the movie, which was amazing. I was like, oh my God, I love it.
Oh, so people are going to be singing to it this Saturday.
Yes, yes, that's what
Yeah.
we hope. Yeah. The people come and that we want people to laugh because the fastest way to overcome any problem or issue is to laugh about it because it has no more power over you. And humor is the way you heal, you solve so many things. And that's how I have approached my life. I laugh at my problems and they don't have power over me. And then I get the solution because when you can let go, your imagination, your intuition, your self-esteem kicks in. And then you go, wait a minute, that's ridiculous. I'm not going to do it that way. I don't care. I'm going to do it this way. And that's the way you own your authentic self through humor.
I feel like that's a very much a Latin trait that we have because
And that's so true. It's like, to me, like being Mexican is about saying, pues, make the best of it. Not only make lemonade, throw some tequila, and make, some other juicy michelada or something delicious.
yeah, it's like, yeah, que.
Pues ya, pues ya. Just no, even when we're like, I mean, making this film took everything out of us. And sometimes when we felt so defeated and it was, I mean, there are times when you don't have sleep for 18, like your 18-hour days and you get 3 hours of sleep. And I remember like we would joke with each other and I go, a ver, quería ser chingón, ahora chingate. And then we would just laugh and like, oh, look how extraordinary we were being. We didn't mean to be this extraordinary, but frick it, yeah, we're gonna do it. And then we laugh and laugh, and then that would give us the courage to keep going with very little sleep. Because it was like a 15-hour, I'm sorry, a 15-day shoot. It was like doing TV. It just took everything out of us, but we did it.
Both share that stress. Yelyna, you're also both of you are producers in the film.
That's right. We did everything. We wore 10 hats. Josefina was doing so many things.
Catering, driving. Yeah, I did everything besides write, produce, and executive produce. I did so many jobs. I was like, oh my God, including what a producer, lyricist, songwriter, like todo, like whatever we could do.
Whatever was needed. And I think that's what a real producer does, you know. There was nothing that we were not gonna do. We're like, okay, it needs to get done. Well, let's do it. It's 3 in the morning. What? I have to go to Walmart. Let me go find a Walmart that's open. You know, there is just all kinds of craziness that happened, but we dealt with it. And I'm just so grateful to have an awesome partner like Josefina because she is about it. You know, I've met a lot of people in this industry. They're not about it. They say they are, but no, she's about it.
Wait, so because you guys get along so well in your success career-wise together, is that why you're opening a film school in Boyle
That's
Heights?
right. That's right. No, we learned so much in making this movie. But here's the other thing. Yelena and I were sent to Equatorial Guinea, Africa, by the U.S. Embassy to promote filmmaking, and they had very little resources. And we managed to make a 17-minute film in 4 days. And we had no Wi-Fi. We had so little, but everybody wanted to make this film because it was the first time they were going to witness seeing a movie. And when we came back, we were like, wait a minute, we just did this movie in 4 days and they had no resources. So what's keeping us from doing a movie here? We have everything we need. And then we're like, oh my God, and we got to show people how you do it. And then we did it. So we're like, there's so many ways to do things inexpensively, creatively. And there's a lot of things you can do to save money because everyone thinks it's about money, but it's really about determination and your creativity and also rewriting and rewriting, you know. And so we want to show people, and especially as women, we had the challenge of like having an all male crew because we were trying to find as many women and still the numbers are not there. So we had to basically stand our ground and people underestimated us, to be honest with you. People always like, I mean, there was a lot of mansplaining. We had to shut down a lot of times. But Yelena, like, showed everybody how it's done because who the hell writes and produces and stars in a movie and does it? And to go from like being the captain of a ship and telling all these men what to do, and then to go, okay, now I got to pretend I'm insecure and I got to cry and I got to break down and I got to be this persona, especially the scene, where the guy leaves her for the other woman. Oh my God, like it was so hard because all these men who were like taking orders from her had a hard time watching this. I could tell that everyone was uncomfortable because they're like, oh my God, to have a woman be that vulnerable but be that powerful within seconds was like an incredible acting job and a directing job. And I think rarely does that ever happen. So we want to teach people the strength it takes, the courage and determination it takes to make a movie and to have to fill all these roles and the best way to do it and how not to lose your mind doing it.
For me, it's really important to start this film school because I mean, both Josefina and I went to UCLA. I went to undergrad UCLA film school, and for years I was waiting to take this Chicano cinema class, and they kept saying there's no one that's there's no one here that can teach it. And I was like, what do you mean? And they're like, yeah, we haven't found anybody. And I kept waiting, and I kept thinking to myself, am I going to be that person that has to come back and teach this class, right? Because they never found anybody that was qualified, is what they kept saying. Then I went to USC for my master's degree, and it was such an experience to have to fight for my vision because culturally a lot of, I mean, respect to the professors, they know what they're doing, they're, Hollywood legends, but culturally a lot of the times they wouldn't understand the material, they would question it. And it just got to a point where I'm like, Josefina and I, we can read scripts from our community and understand it without you having to explain it to us. And I feel like there's just not there's not there's not a lot of professors out there that can actually understand what's going on in the world globally, but also just in our communities, in our Latino communities, and know the differences between, okay, this is a barrio, in the south side of Chicago versus in Boyle Heights, Mexican American, Texan. So I think that that's really important because a lot of the times they're looking at us like we're monolithic and we're not. So I think having this film school is really important, especially to inspire the youth, because it's really important for both Josefina and I is to really inspire the youth for them to be able to have agency and tell their own stories. That way our history doesn't get erased because
The
that's
other thing, oh,
know?
sorry to cut.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I got rejected from film school 6 times. Can you believe that? I got rejected twice from USC and twice from AFI and CalArts and UCLA production. And it's just crazy, that like my movie ends up being at the Museum of Motion Picture Academy, next to Citizen Kane. And yet I got rejected 6 times from film school. And I'm like, and I was told I was not promising. And so for me, I go, well, then there must be a lot of Josefinas out there that are getting rejected from film school because they bring in a different point of view. And I was even told that I shouldn't, that this wasn't the right school for me because their typical candidate was a 27-year-old rich white male or a male from another country, and that I just would not fit in as a woman of color, as a mother, and I just was like, wait a minute, are you really saying this? That you're not going to allow someone like me because I'm not going to fit in with an old male, like like, and they're like, oh no, you just want, and I'm like, how do you know? Like, I'm an incredible producer, as we make this happen, you'll see. And and so to me, I feel like, you know what, we got to open our own film school. Maybe that's why I got rejected, because someone like me who's this extraordinary doesn't fit in a little box like that where it's mostly set up for men to win.
Yeah,
Wow, that is
in film school, I was told directing is a boys' club, so don't try it. You should just stick to producing. That's what I was told in film school, and going back to Equatorial Guinea, I remember like the most life-changing thing for me, honestly, was that trip as far as like being in the industry and what matters to me because there was so many people there that really wanted like they have big dreams like a lot of people they have big dreams but they don't know how to make it happen, and I remember this one kid, he was crying to us saying, you're the first people that have ever said to me that I can do this because my family looks at me and they go, you an actor, like very judgmental. They're like, never, that's never going to happen. And he was like, but thank you because now I know that one day I can be an actor. And I looked at him and I said, what do you mean one day? Did you not just star in the short film we premiered yesterday here for the whole community? And he just started crying. He was like, oh my God, I am an actor. And I said, exactly. So that's why I think it's really important for us to open up this film school so that we can help support people that, may never have that chance or don't have the budget to go to these big film schools, because I have learned from the best, but I've also had to like defend my dream at every step of the way. And I know what it takes and Josefina knows what it takes. So hopefully, we'll help shepherd the next generation of awesome filmmakers.
wow. You guys are an inspiration, and they're going to be inspiration for many, many young filmmakers out there, and part of this art. And to wrap up, I do want to ask you, Yelyna, what it was like to portray a character of Gadi who finally learns to set her ground and stand up for herself, but what she wants, just like you guys have in life, and that message.
This is the first time that I actually have an opportunity to have such a wonderful arc in a character, and I'm like getting really emotional right now because just thinking about all the stereotypes that I've actually portrayed, and 5 lines here, 5 lines there. I've been doing this for such a long time, and it wasn't until this role came up that I said, "Wow, I have the opportunity to show that I can lead a film." Which for an actor is really a dream come true. To be able to lead a film is something that every actor, in their mind, they're like, can I do this? It's a big question. And, I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to be able to show that I can lead a film, which is, a awesome character that I fell in love with, who will make you laugh, will make you cry. And it's just so relatable. Like, I'm just so grateful. And having this experience really released a lot of emotions for me and really took me through the arc of like self-love and self-acceptance to say, you know what, I am enough. It doesn't matter what I look like. It doesn't matter what my weight is. As women, we get bloated, whatever we eat, like we go up and down. There's that whole roller coaster. And, there's a lot of times where we're listening to social media, where you're like, people are haters sometimes, you just have to like quiet those voices and go, you know what? That is not who I am. To me, social media is 10% of slice of life of somebody and they're portraying what they want you to see. And, but oftentimes we don't get the opportunity to really meet a character. And I feel like Josefina's writing really brought the heart and soul of this character where you feel like Carrie, but you are Carrie, and so for me that was like it's just I'm just really grateful, honestly. I can't say thank you enough to Josefina for writing these characters. She's a star maker, every role that she's written, she has discovered actors even right now on Broadway. Like all those actors are having their Broadway debut, and it's because of her writing, it's because of these wonderful characters, and it's just so important that we support films like this so that we can stop being those stereotypes out there.
Yelyna, congratulations with your leading role and with the hands of on each side with Josefina and LALIFF next to you. And you'll have very many more films for you.
Thank you so much.
I hope so, yeah.
You're
We
welcome.
plan.
Well, thank you both. Congratulations for this Saturday's
Thank you.
premiere. And I'm sure people are going to be coming to you and both of you and thanking you for this film.
Yeah, I think so. People are gonna leave laughing and hopefully full of joy.
Definitely. Thank you so much again, and congratulations.